let a homeless child in my house and he ended up inside my wife. I never could have known opening that door would ruin my whole life. At 11 p.m., I heard 3 knocks. We rarely had visitors to our apartment, especially not at this hour. Are we expecting someone? My wife asked. No, I said as I got up from our living room couch. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. I saw a child with sad eyes standing in the cold. I swung our door open to greet the little boy. His hair was light blonde, but what struck me most were his eyes. There was no color in them, 2 gaping black holes pushing at the edges of the whites in his eyes. My wife rushed to the door. Call the police, she said, and you, come in here now. She patted the little boy's back and beckoned him into our apartment, unknowingly the worst mistake she could have made. My wife bombarded him with questions. Are you lost? Where are your parents? Do you have their phone number? Why are you alone? The little boy didn't vocally respond to any of the questions. He either shook his head or nodded if it was a yes/no question. If not, he would just stare at my wife dumbfoundedly. Let me get you some hot chocolate. My wife scrambled to our little kitchen and boiled some water over the stove. My wife was orphaned at a young age, so I knew she was trying her best to comfort this lost little boy. I got on the phone with a 911 operator and explained the situation. Despite the late hour, they immediately sent help. They arrived, asked us a few questions, and quickly escorted the boy out. He turned around and gave an innocent wave goodbye to my wife. Thank you, he said, holding his hot chocolate in one hand. So, I thought that was it. He's in safe hands now, right? As I closed the door, I could see tears swelling in my wife's eyes. There was conflict in those tears. What's wrong? I asked. I feel so sorry for him, she said. The foster system sucks. Maybe they'll find his parents, I suggested. My wife just shook her head. That night, I could feel our bed shake to her sobs. I turned over in the sheets and rubbed her back. She was on her side with her back toward me to hide the fact that she was crying, a habit I was familiar with. Things were better the next night as my wife and I cuddled on our living room couch. But then, out of nowhere, the same 3 knocks from the night before came again. Tap, tap, tap. My wife rushed to the door and opened it to see the same little boy. She bent down and wrapped her arms around him, lifting him off the hard cement and onto the soft carpet of our living room. The boy giggled as he was lifted through the air. I'll admit, I panicked in that moment. A lost child being found at some stranger's house 2 nights in a row. I reached for my phone, but my wife suspiciously said, it can wait till morning. Are you crazy? The boy frowned at me with her smoldering black eyes of coal. So, I threw my hands up and said, all right, I'll call first thing tomorrow. I grabbed some blankets and a pillow from our closet to set up a makeshift bed on our couch. My wife made another cup of hot chocolate for the boy. Then she pulled up a children's story on her phone and started reading to the boy on the couch. He was delighted and fell asleep quickly. My wife and I tiptoed to our room and slipped into bed as quietly as possible. She scrunched up close to me, and we embraced tightly. Her head rested in the crevice of my neck. Do you think the police lost the boy? I asked her. She stayed still, speaking into my neck. He said they took him home last night, but he got lost again. Wait, he talked? He hasn't said a word.